Another thing we've not yet considered and focused on is the interior here. I don't have floor-to-floor heights, but I suspect that I might at our... Let me take a tape measure to... 16 feet, 2 to 3. 21 to 3 to the roof. It's possible that the slab on 3 the floor-to-floor height from 2 to 3 is greater than I've modeled it here. How would that change? What would happen is that group that forms a floor slab 3, if I went into its component attributes and set a z value, augmented that z coordinate, let's see, 528. It's at 44 feet. Say it should be at 45 feet. What happens, maybe even 46 feet. What happens is we'll have to make some compensatory modifications to the components that form the column arrays there. So I'm going to say that there's probably a taller height from floor to ceiling. So that's it. I wonder if there's a way to display. No, there's not a way to display feet and inches. But let's say I made that change to that floor slab. Then what I'd need to do is modify this component. I have to take that face and push it up the blue axis to the top of that plane, right? And then close that component. And it might be that my columns on the second floor are kind of massive. I don't think 3 by 3. Could be that they are 2 by 2. So a couple changes have to happen there. The height has to change so that they reach the underside and the floor above. That's okay. But there's also missing from them is what forms the arcade. So I'm going to make the columns a little more slender. Triple click and scale. Uniform. That's not going to give me what I want. Let's ignore, let's put this off for now, close this component. So, and turn off X-ray. So we need an arch between columns here. Let me take two of these and copy them elsewhere so that we can model, putting them on the ground there, so that we can model in an uninterrupted fashion an arch that spans between them. So if the center of the arch, if we could find the point where the center is, let's see, if we draw a line between these two, and we decide that the distance from the midpoint of that column to the center of this line would be the radius of the arch that we need. So let's go ahead and draw that line. Midpoint to midpoint. And I'm going to take that line that I just drew and rotate it. Oops. So there. There's the end point. Okay, in order to do this, I'm going to have to break this up. So let's remove that part of the line. Group those. And now I want to take that and rotate it that way, 90 degrees. Green axis, I'm going to snap to that endpoint. So now the midpoint of this line will form the center of the arch. Now I can use this tool, arc, runs from the center to there. So that's roughly the span of it. I would similarly want to offset. Let's give it an offset of 6 inches. And then let's draw a line to just sort of complete these. So I can remove the rest of this geometry. Make this a component and call it arch 10. So now when I modify it, say extrude it the depth of 36 inches, which is about that the width of that column. Close this component. Okay, it's a little bit out of context now, because what we need to create are shorter columns, but that are spanned by that arch. Let's look at a picture again and see if we can understand the properties. So there's like 3 segments, and that might be more like a foot deep. And then the column is shorter and it has a capital. So let's go ahead and take this and offset that inside a bit more. Let's give it about 8 inches, maybe 9. And then we'll draw the line to complete the face. This is a little awkward, but I want to draw on the blue axis down to there, and then go across to here. Same on this side. Blue axis to there, and then across. But we still need to complete the shape. Is that giving us the right? I don't have a face in there yet. There it is. So now we'll want to extrude that as well. .36. Close that component. So in order to understand the context and what it's going to look like when we repeat it, I'm going to copy one of these 10 feet that way. And the same, that is going to be copied from that endpoint to there. So now as we start to make changes to these columns, because they're components, will be reflected in all of these. Now notice it's changing all of this as well. Theoretically I could add the arch to that group, but I'm just trying to go about, you know, a way of looking at this. So the column, if I wanted to model the capital, I could do that separately. By grouping the base right? So we have a nested entity in here. Let's move that down, oh, I don't know, 6 inches. And say now, we close that group. Now I'm going to model my nested capital. Let's see what shape it is. It's a little complex. We don't need to get really fancy with it. Let me draw on top of that group and take that face and offset it. Well, not inwards. I want to offset outwards. 4 inches. We don't need these lines on the inside, so, oh boy. That might be connected to that geometry. So let's make this a group. So now I'm going to delete those lines and take that face, go upwards 6 inches. close that group. So, and then close the component. So we're starting to see a way that we can create that arcade, right? Notice these guys have all changed, and they're waiting now for a group of arches over it. So I'm going to save that lesson as lesson 15. Think about arches.